Hello and welcome to this tutorial series where we explain how to take a garment and avatar from CLO 3D and export it so that we can use it in Maya and Houdini in the carbon CLO garment processors, and they come as welded and unwelded. So let's get started. We start with built-in geometry. We have female avatar. Let's take this one here. Just drag it into the scene and we will see the avatar here in this 3D window. Now in the library, we go to garments and we go to select this female t-shirt. We have the option to either maintain the avatar size in pose or open the size in pose in the garment file. This will make sure that the t-shirt already fits around the avatar, so I select the second option. There we go. It is nicely set around the avatar and ready for simulation. I'm just going to press simulate and you can see it pops straight onto the avatar and comes together nicely. It is important at this stage to make sure that there are no overlaps. We do not want the avatar to go through the garment or garment through the avatar. We also do not want the garment to be corrupted with itself. So we're looking for a very clean look, no movement, no jiggling, popping, no corruptions, and then we can move on. So all is good here and we can move on. Now, our garment processors in Houdini and in Maya do not only handle simulation geometry, but also render meshes and render details. Render details could be something like zippers, decals, buttons, or top stitches. So for this tutorial, we're going to add some top stitches. I'm going to zoom in on the collar now. You can see there's no extra details or top stitches. So how can we add this? We go here on the right side in these buttons and we select segment top stitch. Now we can select segments in our 2D pattern window, and I just select these two on the front collar, and it is hard to see, but it has added top stitches around here. Now in order to make it more apparent and easier to see, for this tutorial I will drastically increase these top stitches. So I'm going onto here, the default top stitch option, and we're going to see the properties. We can scroll down and up and find where we want to go, and we want to go to specification. In here, I set the space to 1 to make them slightly apart and drastically increase the thread thickness from 40 to 400. Now this will have comically large stitches, but it is very obvious to see. So let's stick with it because we can nicely see what's going on. All right, the next step is to adjust the UVs. The garment processors need UVs in a certain format, and we can quickly do this in here. So in the top right, where it says simulation, click on it to open a drop-down. Go to UV editor, and it shows you the UVs, which per default are from 0 to 1 in X and in Y. So in order to process it properly in the garment process in Houdini and Maya, we right-click here, and this could be anywhere here in this window in the UV editor, and we go reset UV to 2D arrangement. This will immediately lay out the panels in the same way as they are in the 2D panel editor. Now we can go back to simulation if you can see this. All right, we're quite happy with how it looks, and we can start and go ahead and export. All right, I will export it both for welded and for unwelded processing in Houdini and Maya, but obviously you would at this point choose if you want to use the welded garment processor or the unwelded one. But let's go ahead and start with the unwelded one first. I go to export and I want to export to OBJ. I already have a folder and I'm just going to call it t-shirt underscore unwelded. All right. Now here are a couple important things you need to set up. We only want the patterns. We do not want the avatar. We also do not want the graphics. We are unwelded, so we need multiple objects. We also want thin objects, and please make sure to tick unified UV coordinates to apply the proper UV coordinates that we just set up. Also make sure to tick save metadata XML, because otherwise we will not be able to use the metadata and the CLO garment processors. If you don't have the metadata, you can only use the standard garment processor, which has already been part of our plugins in Maya and Houdini. But for the new ones, we need this metadata. All right, let's go ahead and press OK. All right, this is exported. Now we also export the welded ones so we can show in Houdini and Maya how to set these up as well. So select this. I'm just going to move the UN. There we go. T-shirt welded. Save. Similar to before, we set all patterns, but no avatars, no graphics trim. Now we want welded. So we go from multiple object to single object. Unwelded, we go to weld. And again, thin, unified UV coordinates, very important. plus take your metadata as well. And all right, one thing I also don't have is actually the avatar. So I can just export the avatar in a similar way, export obj, and oops, let's just name it avatar obj. And I'm going to untick patterns and graphics. And this time I'm just keeping the avatar. And I just want doesn't matter. I think if you want the shoes and everything separate, we can just do multiple objects. Again, we do thin. UV coordinates, it doesn't really matter much, I believe. We don't need the metadata. Let's export the avatar. Obviously, you would have your own avatar in most cases, so you'd already have the avatar outside of CLO and would have brought it in to create your garment. All right, what's next? Next is we need to export the render meshes. The render meshes the carbon needs have to be in the XY plane, so we have to actually flatten this out. So how can we do this? We go into select, transform pattern. We select all of the patterns, then we right click on any of these and go reset 2D arrangement for the selected ones. Now all of these have been flattened to match these panels. And we can see on the back side it is dark and the front side it is white. If you do not see this view, you might be, for example, in thick monochrome surface where the front and the back are the same color. But at this stage, it is important to go to monochrome surface so you can see the back and the front and can see that they're all facing the right direction. Sometimes there could be a scenario where, for example, one of the panels or multiple are flipped. So you have the dark side facing forward, which will cause problems down the line. All of the patterns need to have the white side facing forward. So we right click on each pattern individually that has been flipped, right click and go to flip horizontally. And now all of them again are facing forward in white. This is what we want. All right, what's next? Render meshes. Usually the point of them is to have a higher thick mesh for beautiful visualization. So what we want to do, the higher res, is change the tessellation of these panels. The default tessellation here is particle of 20, which is 20 millimeters, so about 2 centimeter edge length. If you change this to 10, you will see we end up with about 4 times the resolution. So this is quite nice, and I think we should stick with it for now. All right, let's go to File, Export, and this time I will actually export in FBX, because the FBX export also allows you to export the textures onto the files in all one embedded FBX file. I will call it render.fbx. All right. Now, I do not want the avatar because I already exported it. I want multiple objects. I want it in thick. Now, here's an important thing to notice. When I click on thick, it will tick the avatar again. Whenever you change here, for some reason it's a bug, it will tick the avatar. So make sure to untick the avatar, multiple objects, thick. We do not want unified UV coordinates, but we want diffuse color combined on texture. Now we go ahead and export. And the speed of the export depends on how many triangles are in this mesh. So it could be faster, it could be slower, depending how detailed your meshes are. All right, and then we are done with the close setup and we can move forward to Houdini Maya and work on our garment processors. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.